Demon Slayer is one of, if not the most popular anime going on right now as of 2025. And as y'all know, it's what kickstarted my channel. I'm obviously a huge fan. Now recently we've been making a lot of Demon Slayer videos on this channel, and today we're going to be continuing that theme, but it's going to be a little bit different from what we usually do. It's not going to be a golden take, it's not going to be a tier list. It's actually going to be similar to when I reorganized the Demon Slayer core, because today I'm going to be reorganizing Tanjiro's life. And as you can probably tell from the thumbnail and title, that instead of being the descendant of Yoriichi Sugikuni, he's going to be the descendant of Kokushibo, aka Mitsikachu Sugikuni. So instead of inheriting sun breathing, he will inherit moon breathing. Now, how we always normally do these videos, I will be segregating this video into different parts, but instead of 3, today we're going to double it to 6, since there are 6 major arcs in Demon Slayer. Now, if you're ready to get into that just as much as I am, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to join GLD, and just let me know you like this type of content. And since you like this type of content, make sure to turn on post notifications so you don't miss the content that you literally like. And last but not least, tell a friend or family member. Could be anybody. Could be your brother, sister, niece, nephew, son, daughter, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, granddad. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, I'm going to be segregating this video into 6 parts, which are the major arcs in Demon Slayer, with 1 being basically just season 1 of Demon Slayer, just the beginning of Demon Slayer, which consists of Final Selection, the Swamp Demon, meeting Tamayo, the Drum Demon, and then Rui. The second arc being the Mugen Train arc, then the third, of course, the Entertainment District arc, the fourth being the Swordsmith Village arc, 5 being the Hashira Training arc, and then 6 being the, of course, Infinity Castle arc. So with all that being said, Tanjiro is obviously in the original story the descendant of Yoriichi through the Kamado family, but this time, of course, he'll be the descendant of Mitsikachu Sugikuni, which, to give a little background, Kokushibo, or Mitsikachu Sugikuni, as a human did actually have a wife and children, but he abandoned them when he became a demon. So they're still out there somewhere. Well, I guess they're not, because it's been like 400 years, but they were still out there someday. So there is a precedent, and we could just say that the Kamado family came from that side. Same way that Muichiro, and we actually know for a fact his children went on to have children of their own and then, you know, descended down, because Muichiro exists. Muichiro is actually, of course, as we know, the descendant of Kokushibo, and we see that in the Swordsmith Village arc, and especially when he faces Kokushibo himself in the Infinity Castle arc. So starting off, of course, we know that Muzan comes in and wipes out the Kamado family because Tanjiro's dad, Tanjiro, finally passed and was not able to do the Hinokami Kagura ritual anymore, so Muzan took that opportunity to kill them while he could. But in this case, instead of Muzan, it's going to be Kokushibo that pulls up to take out the Kamado family, because he essentially received a tip, or he was able to find the location of the Kamado family, and of course, he needs to get rid of all the moon breathing users, same way Muzan wants to get rid of the sun breathing users, because obviously that'd be a threat, because moon breathing is a very powerful form. So it's a threat to Kokushibo himself, a threat to Muzan, and so on and so forth. And in this timeline, he could still end up turning Nezuko into a demon, because I don't really see why not, because I mean, Muzan did it and there was no real reason for Muzan to do that. It wouldn't really have benefited to turn Nezuko into a demon. It wouldn't have been a pro or a con. There's no harm nor foul turning Nezuko into a demon here, so I'm gonna just keep that the same. But of course, Tanjiro is late as he originally was, so Tanjiro pulls up late, sees Kokushibo. Instead of Giyu, he runs into Kokushibo, because this is going to be like a day early, right? So Giyu shows up the next day. We know in the original story, the day Muzan showed up, Giyu showed up the next day after. So in the same way he fought Giyu, he goes to fight Kokushibo to protect Nezuko. And of course, Nezuko attacks him the same way, but Tanjiro shows some fight, a little bit of battle techniques, battle skills. Tanjiro obviously does the same thing he did with Giyu with the axe throw, and Kokushibo kind of sees a little bit of promise in this young Tanjiro, especially because he's like, well, that's my descendant. So a little bit of pride in there gets in the way of like, oh, my descendants actually know kind of what they doing. So with that being said, instead, Kokushibo decides to spare Tanjiro, and he's like, you know what? I want you to do to me what I couldn't do to my brother. You are my descendant. Whether you know that or not, you are my descendant. I'm going to go ahead and teach you all the forms of moon breathing. And I want you to master moon breathing, become the greatest swordsman alive, quote unquote alive, and then I want you to surpass me and kill me, finish me the way that I couldn't do my brother. So he shows him all 16 forms, and Tanjiro burns them into his memory, as he did with sun breathing. When Tanjiro's dad showed him sun breathing, the Hinokami Kagura, he burned that into his memory, literally burned that into his memory, and then that's how he's able to bust it out against Rui. So in this case, instead of burning it into his memory, he's like moonlighting it into his memory. I don't know what you would use. Anyways, Kokushibo performs all 16 forms and then dips. And then Giyu pulls up and is here to kill Nezuko, because he was here to kill Kokushibo because he heard of a demon in the area. But then he sees Nezuko and goes to kill Nezuko. And then Tanjiro is able to fend him off a little bit with some of the moon breathing skills he learned. Now, obviously, it's not going to be just straight up. He just can just bust out all the forms, right? Because he just watched Kokushibo do it. And also, when sun breathing was passed to Sumiyoshi, the founder of the Kamado family, Yoriichi performed all 13 forms of the sun breathing, and Sumiyoshi burned it into his memory and was able to pass it down. So there is that precedent there. So I'm also not pulling it out of my ass. There's more evidence to support him burning into his memory. So, chill on that. So he's obviously not able to actually use moon breathing, but he is able to somewhat kind of mimic the techniques, if you will, not actually fully do it, but he's kind of like Murata, you know what I'm saying, there's a spark there. And so since that's the case, Giyu decides, you know what, I'm gonna let you rock, but since you don't need to learn a breathing style, you don't need to be sent to the water cultivator or a Kodaki, so I'm just gonna take you in myself as my Sugoku, because you already have some breathing style skills, so you could just continue doing that, master that, you could become the moon Hashira. So Giyu takes Tanjiro in, as I think he would, in this scenario, and basically trains him same way Kodaki was, and then goes to final selection. But instead of taking 2 years, maybe like a year, because he already has some skills. So I'm gonna just say maybe a year later, it doesn't really matter. But anyways, he goes to final selection, easily passes because he has moon breathing now, not water breathing. And now we go into the first real arc, which is the swamp demon. So we're still in part 1, but the next couple of arcs I'm gonna kind of breeze through because I don't think there will really be much changes. Now with Nezuko, her power probably won't be flames, since she's not the descendant of Yoriichi, neither is Tanjiro. So instead of being fire, probably something to do with the moon, so maybe moonlight. So instead of literal pink flames, maybe it's just pink moonlight that heals or burns demons. So heals humans, burns demons. Moving on. So the swamp demon will pretty much go the exact same, except probably done faster. Pretty much every arc, at least these next few arcs, will probably get done quicker. And then of course, going into meeting Tamayo, that'd probably go the same way, except Tanjiro would probably be able to solo both Susumaru and Yahaba, since he has moon breathing. He wouldn't need to focus on one at a time. He could just use a moon breathing form, and it would just because moon breathing is all about AoE. So he could just swing and then just a whole bunch of slashes go out everywhere. So moon breathing is an AoE type of breathing style. So he'd be able to just hit multiple enemies at once. So he might be able to solo, but in case you don't really want to glaze him too much. But either way, he still wins. If he can win with water breathing, he can win, definitely for damn sure win with moon breathing. Now of course he's still trying to cure Nezuko, duh. So he takes on the side quest of getting the vials from the 12 Kizuki and giving it to the cat so that Tamayo can research it, duh. That goes without saying. So now going to the mansion. So he still meets Zenitsu the same way. That probably goes the same way, but again, and he also still meets Inosuke, but again, he'd probably be able to defeat Kyogai faster because he has moon breathing. I mean, that's pretty much going to be a common theme in this video. Okay, he probably beats them faster because he has moon breathing. Imagine if Tanjiro started out with sun breathing instead of water breathing. it'd kind of be the same thing. Like, he's starting out with a better ability, so obviously fights are gonna be faster, but that doesn't mean he's a master of that ability. He still, you know, still needs to learn it, but he's learning a better skill, so he's gonna have a little bit of course he's gonna have a, you know, okay, anyways. So he still meets Zenitsu, still meets Inosuke, gets through the Kyo guy, going on to the end of this first part, which is Rui. So again, he probably be able to get through faster. So we're gonna start out slow. Okay, so his first fight was with what? The demon girl that was controlling, you know, the mother. So he'd probably just be able to kill her. That would probably go the same way, because basically Inosuke threw him, because Inosuke sensed her, was like, okay, and then threw him, and then he just did like a striking tide and snapped her neck. So basically it'd be the same thing. Instead of doing a water breathing move, it'd be moon breathing. And then I want to go ahead and kind of just skip to the Giga nigga, the father, right? So Tanjiro and Inosuke start fighting this dude together, and then Tanjiro basically gets big booted out of there, and Inosuke has to fight him himself. So in this case, Tanjiro, I'm gonna say, probably does more damage. I'm gonna say this time Tanjiro and Inosuke are able to handle it together. So they basically take him down together. Instead of getting big booted out of there, they're able to take him down together. Since he has moon breathing, his damage, he does a lot more damage. Of course, moon breathing, it has obviously strong slashes, but those slashes have slashes upon slashes. It's like when your biceps have biceps, right? So it's like you're getting hit thousands of times by strong attacks. I think they, with their teamwork, with, you know, basically Inosuke's fury swipes like he's a fucking Pokemon, and Tanjiro's biceps upon biceps, I think they'd be able to defeat him together this time. So then they go after Rui, right? Here's the thing, I don't really know if I would still send Giyu and Shinobu, maybe just one Hashira. I don't think they need Giyu and Shinobu. What I might actually do is maybe send just Shinobu to go deal with Rui. So that way we can be introduced to her, because we don't really need to be introduced to Giyu, because we already got introduced to Giyu, right? We've already seen him train with Giyu instead of Orokodaki. So instead of sending Giyu and Shinobu, maybe just Shinobu. Even though they have like a cool little moment together, I think it makes more sense because you're sending Shinobu, which also Kanao is going to be there. Shout out my girl Kanao. So since that's the case, Shinobu goes to deal with Rui with Tanjiro. Tanjiro, Nezuko go pull up on, well, Tanjiro goes to pull up on Rui. He can start fighting Rui, has a hard time dealing with him, but since he has moon breathing, he's able to somewhat counter the strings, because again, moon breathing is an AoE attack. So it can match the strings. He might not be able to beat the strings or break the strings, but he can match the strings. He can at least defend himself. But let's just say he's not really doing bad, but he's not really getting anywhere, because the strings are still stronger than his attacks, but he's able to defend himself. So he's able to swing, and all these slashes block all the strings, but he's not able to get a breakthrough, right? And so then, of course, Nezuko can still jump out to defend him for the one time, gets tied up. Rui's like, oh my god, I want that. I want her. I want that sisterly love. And then ties her up, whatever. And then Tanjiro goes into survival mode, and he's like, think back on the memories of being taught the breathing forms from Kokushibo. And so then he's like, bad. So then maybe he can bust out some sick moon breathing form. I don't know, evolve his game or something, and just like you know, sling, like he did originally with the sun breathing, but instead, in this case, moon breathing. And then Nezuko can awaken her ability. Instead of pink flames, it's like moonlight, pink moonlight shits, and they going crazy. But of course, we can't let him have this kill. Okay, we can't let him have this dub yet. Essentially, I think I would say probably do the same thing that he did last time. Rui cuts off his own head, whatever. Tanjiro's like, dang, man, that could have been it. But Tanjiro's not that messed up this time, because of course, you know, his moon break. So maybe his sword doesn't break this time, because he's able to, you know, with his slashes, or maybe it does break. It doesn't really make a difference. And then Shinobu comes in and finishes it with the poison attack. The same attack she did on the sister, she does on Rui. Rui dies, so on and so forth. We're introduced to Shinobu. They're like, oh my gosh, Shinobu, whatever. Okay, what's up? Moving on to the next arc. I know we're getting through these pretty quickly, but I don't want this video going forever. And plus, I'm trying to get through the boring shit quickly, because I want to get into more interesting things like Mugen Train. So now we're finally on the second arc. Obviously, the Mugen Train arc starts off with Tanjiro trying to figure out what sun breathing is, but since he doesn't have sun breathing and he's the Sengoku to Giyu, he doesn't really need a desire to learn what fire breathing, as he calls it at the time. But perhaps Kokushibo mentioned sun breathing when he was, teaching him moon breathing, like, I want you to surpass me, become the greatest swordsman, how I couldn't with my brother Yorichi, the sun breathing, whatever. So maybe he's like, what's this sun breathing stuff? And he knows about Rengoku, and Rengoku's like flame breathing, sun breathing. Maybe that's the same, maybe that's something. So he can still go talk to Rengoku, who's obviously on the Mugen Train mission, and he's like, hey, let's go on the Mugen Train mission. Perhaps he needs to learn sun breathing so he can learn how to surpass it with his moon breathing, whatever. I mean, it's sun and moon, you kind of gotta have both, right? But in this case, I don't actually think I want him to go with Inosuke and Zenitsu. I think I want Zenitsu and Inosuke to kind of do their own thing. I don't think I want them on this mission. So I think just Tanjiro and Nezuko go after, because this is his own personal mission anyways. So Tanjiro and Nezuko with Rengoku to go to the Mugen Train arc. Again, this is my story, okay? Let me tell it how I want to tell it. So pretty much at the start goes the same way. So then obviously they go to sleep. They're in their dream state. In this dream state, perhaps Tanjiro has more memories of his family. Kind of the same thing that Tanjiro goes through, except there's no like Hino Kamikaze, there's no sun breathing. Or maybe instead of dreaming of his family, maybe he has a dream of him with Kokushibo, right? And it like gives him some type of more knowledge about moon breathing that we didn't know before, because that would actually progress the story and actually be worth a shit, rather than just seeing him with his family again, which is cool, a nice moment, but it doesn't really do nothing except he just learns he gotta, So, but maybe this time he's more determined. He's like, okay, I learned some more things. But again, Enmu probably wouldn't want to give him those dreams, because I guess that'd be more like a nightmare, and that would also be beneficial to Tanjiro either way. So, but anyways, they get up. Rengoku and Tanjiro wake up. Rengoku's like, hey, I'm gonna save the civilians. You go after Enmu, and you and Nezuko go after Enmu. So they're like, bet. Nezuko and Tanjiro pull up on Enmu, and they start boxing. And this time, of course, since he has moon breathing, he's able to hit multiple attacks at the same time, and Nezuko busts out, starts burning people with our moonlight, yada yada yada. Tanjiro and Nezuko are able to put down Enmu themselves, and then of course a real challenger, Akaza, pulls up to the scene. My favorite Dunkin' Donuts employee. He finna give me a meal today. So in this case, okay, Nezuko goes back to sleep. Tanjiro is hurt because he and Nezuko were only there to fight Enmu instead of him and Inosuke. So Tanjiro is hurt, but he's not as hurt as he was before, because in this case the conductor doesn't stab him in his shit. Like, that was so stupid. I think I'm not putting that in there. I think that was only put there so that Rengoku could fight him by himself. So I'm not gonna have the conductor stab Tanjiro. Tanjiro's relatively fine. Nezuko goes back to sleep though, and maybe she goes to heal some of the passengers with her moonlight powers now. Okay, so Tanjiro's there, relatively injured. Rengoku's fine, and he's like, oh, I gotta pull up on this Akaza up. So they get to box, and Tanjiro's like, ooh, let me jump in, since because that's what Tanjiro's all about, like, oh yeah, I gotta fight the demons. So Tanjiro jumps in, and Akaza's like, whoa, buddy, what you got going on? What's this? And he sees that obviously Tanjiro has moon breathing, and he's like, wait a minute. Put 2 and 2 together makes 4. That's Kokushibo shit. He's like, Kokushibo got some fucking explaining to do, gang. So anyways, same thing happens. He bodies Kyojiro, turns him into a donut, becomes, Dunkin' Donuts employee of the year. Rengoku dies. Rengoku's like, hey, I don't know nothing about sun breathing, but maybe you could go talk to my pops. He knows more about it. I don't know if that really helps you or not, but it do what it do. I'm dying now. But this case, of course, Tanjiro wouldn't get the guard because he doesn't have sun breathing. He has moon breathing, so he wouldn't really need it wouldn't really fit. I mean, he could have it, but it's like you have to change the color to like purple and blue or something, right? He doesn't have the guard. Maybe he just gets a whole new sword that makes more sense to his moon breathing, right? So after which, obviously he heals up, and obviously his scar would be shaped like a crescent moon. He goes to talk to Shinjiro. Pretty much the same thing happens, but instead of Shinjiro crashing out on him because he's like, hey, you have that scar on you, that's the sun breathing scar. He's like, hold on, moon, sun and moon, and he basically tells him how he became a demon slayer. He was trained by Kokushibo, whatever, and he's like, Kokushibo, that's upper moon 1, that's the strongest demon. which Tanjiro would probably already know that. But Kokushibo is the brother of Yoriichi Sugikuni. Well, actually, I don't know if Shinjiro would know that, actually. But, I mean, he knows about sun breathing, so he'd probably know about, because obviously the Flame Breathers, the Rengoku family, has been in the Demon Slayer Corps as Hashiras since Yoriichi. So he'd probably know that. Let's just say he knows that, because, you know, they have a book that, anyways, let's just say he knows that. So he's like, oh, you know, 2 and 2 together. Yoriichi was the original, yada, yada, yada. Sun breathing is like the most perfect form. You can't beat it, yada, yada, yada. So maybe we get a little bit more of Kokushibo's backstory now, instead of at the end when he dies. We get a little bit of it now, you know, more history, of course. So basically that just motivates him to work harder as a moon breather in order to surpass sun breathing, and more specifically to beat Kokushibo. So it's more just like a motivator thing. And we get more of a lore drop here. So anyways, now finally moving on to part 3, which of course is the Entertainment District arc. Now, this will pretty much go, I'm not gonna lie, kind of the exact same way, because they still need Zenitsu and Inosuke to pull up, because they need the 3 to disguise themselves, and of course they still meet Tengen. So I'm just gonna go ahead and skip straight to the Daki fight. So he goes to fight Daki, and again, like with Rui, he's able to match Daki's belts, because instead of water breathing or sun breathing, he has moon breathing, which is like AoE, right? I keep mentioning that. So he's able to match the belts, but this time, unlike Rui, he's able to actually press the advantage like he did originally with sun breathing. But now, since he's able to have multiple slashes that can deflect all of her belts, he's able to actually push her back even more, because he has more spread out attack, pause, than one that's focused right here in his blade, right? So he's able to, multiple belts are coming at him, he doesn't have to just like move fast to deflect all of them. He can just swing once and deflect all of them rather than having to make multiple slashes. So he's able to press the advantage even more. In this scenario, I think he'll be able to cut off Daki's head by himself, and then maybe also with the help of Nezuko, but I think he'd be able to defeat Daki by himself, and then her head gets cut off, she starts crying, and then Gyutaro pops out and Tengen pulls up. So Tengen, I think I would have Inosuke and Zenitsu helping out Tengen instead of Tanjiro, since Tanjiro has the advantage against Daki in this battle because he has moon breathing. So he fights Daki perhaps with Nezuko, and he fights Daki alone, but this time with Nezuko because she has her full power form and she has her third eye from Gyutaro. So Tanjiro and Nezuko are fighting Daki, and Inosuke and Zenitsu are helping out Tengen, because Inosuke is like, I'm the king of the mountains, and Tengen's like, I'm the god of the festivals, and Zenitsu has thunder breathing, which is the progenitor to sound breathing. So I think it's just better matchups here. Same thing happens, they're able to kill him, yada yada yada. But I forgot to mention also, when Daki sees Tanjiro bust out moon breathing, instead of her having like, oh my god, Yoriichi flashbacks, I got PTSD, she's able to just notice like, hey, why do you have that form? Why do you have moon breathing? Like, what? That's Kokushibo shit. Speaking of that's Kokushibo shit, I forgot to mention, I was going to, but then I don't know why I forgot. After the Akaza fight, when Akaza defeats Rengoku, he goes over to Muzan and he tells Muzan like, hey, I don't know if you noticed, you probably do, but Kokushibo taught Tanjiro moon breathing. I don't like, so he has moon breathing, so I don't know what's going on. And Muzan's like, yeah, I already know about it. So he probably wouldn't pay too much mind. He's like, they're the descendants of his family, so it makes sense. They probably just figured it. They probably just passed it down, whatever. I'm not too worried about it. I don't think Muzan would be like, all right, Kokushibo, gotta kill you, gotta punish you now. Like, I don't think that's happening. So anyways, so Daki fight ends and Tanjiro goes back. Now we start part 4, the Swordsmith Village arc. So the Swordsmith Village arc is where it actually gets interesting, because I don't see Tanjiro breaking his sword, because I just think now he has moon breathing. I think he'd probably be, and he was trained by Kokushibo, one of the strongest swordsmen of all time. So I think he'd just have better swordsmanship skills in general to where he wouldn't break his sword. I don't know what else to put here, so let's just say he breaks his sword somehow again. Plus they would give him a chance to get a new updated sword with a guard, or suba in Japanese, that like looks like a moon. Again, pretty much the same thing happens. So Tanjiro, of course, he meets Muichiro, also the Yoriichi type 0, and he's like, Yoriichi, I've heard of that name before, that's Kokushibo bro, whatever. So he uses this as a training opportunity to see like, okay, where do I stand with sun breathing, because this Yoriichi type 0 has 6 arms to emulate sun breathing. So he's like, okay, this could be a real good opportunity for me to hone my moon breathing skills and see where they're at based on sun sun breathing. So all in all, basically in this iteration of the story, sun breathing is more just seen like an obstacle Tanjiro has to overcome rather than him to like learn and master. He just views it as kind of like, I want to surpass sun breathing by not learning sun breathing, right? Like that's my stepping stone. That's my my milestone, if you will. Obviously, we learn from the crow that Muichiro is a descendant of Kokushibo or Mitsukachu. When the crow or Muichiro see that and Tanjiro see him use moon breathing, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. And maybe that jogs the memory, like, oh, wait, hold up, we're cousins. And maybe Muichiro and Tanjiro would basically become buddies even quicker because they're like, oh, we literally like blood related to each other. Like we're that much closer to each other in this verse. Like we're not just like distant cousins, we're like first cousins or something like that, right? But pretty much the same thing happens. I would say he'd be able to solo the emotion clones quicker and probably just skip straight to Zohakuten. But this time I think I'll have Tanjiro face Zohakuten instead of the other strong Hantengu. So remember when he tells Genya to go after the other Hantengu, the small one goes after the original Hantengu. Let's just say Genya keeps doing that. And then when Zohakuten pulls up, Tanjiro and Mitsuri fight Zohakuten together. Same way he helped Tengen fight Gyutaro, he helps Mitsuri fight Zohakuten. Genya is still going after the original Hantengu and then even the giant one because that's a one-on-one situation. And maybe even Genya eats some of the wood and maybe he gets a demon boost and he's able to fight on even scale with the other Hantengu. That way Nezuko is still staying in the woods where it's dark and isn't hit by the sunlight, even though that was a really special moment. Tanjiro and Mitsuri are fighting Zohakuten together, especially because moon breathing and love breathing are actually would work really well together since they're both like AoE attacks. So Mitsuri was matching Zohakuten with the wood dragons. She was matching it, but she wasn't really getting hurt, but she wasn't making any progress. Like earlier, Tanjiro versus Rui. He's able to defend, not really get hurt, but he wasn't able to progress. But now that Tanjiro is also here, they're able to actually make progress. Mitsuri holds back the wood dragon so Tanjiro can move in and Tanjiro gets the kill on Zohakuten. Maybe he even sends Nezuko with Genya like he did earlier so that Nezuko and Genya can go after the original Hantengu. So this way she would still get hit by the sunlight. In this verse, obviously Nezuko would probably still master the sunlight. Maybe it can also be like, well, Tanjiro faced off against Yoriichi type 0 to see where he stood to sun breathing. Nezuko conquering the sun, maybe that's a sign like, oh, Nezuko with moonlight is able to conquer the sun. Maybe this is like, it could be like a sign, it could be like motivation, or maybe Kokushibo can see this, Muzan can see this and be like, oh, like maybe Tanjiro and Nezuko, maybe they can actually do it. They can conquer the sun, aka beat sun breathing. Kokushibo can see this and be like, he can do what I couldn't do. And so I think, yeah, in this verse she can still conquer the sun. Now, of course, going into the Hashira training arc, pretty boring arc. I would say it pretty much goes the exact same way. But instead, I would have Giyu actually be part of the Hashira training arc. Since Tanjiro is the Sugoku to Giyu, he'd probably talk to Giyu on a regular basis, and that information would probably already come out, like his backstory. In this case, he's not being all moody and whatever. He trains with them, like, because we already got that earlier. He's part of the Hashira training arc from the start. Finally, getting to part 6. The Infinity Castle arc, the final arc of the series. Now, this is, I guess, kind of spoiler alerts, but I mean, I've already talked about who Kokushibo was, anyways, plus, if you haven't read the manga, you probably shouldn't be watching this video anyways. You probably shouldn't be watching any Demon Slayer shit unless you've finished the manga, because otherwise it's all spoilers. Now, here will be actually drastically different. Instead of having Giyu and Tanjiro go after Akaza, I would have definitely Tanjiro going after Kokushibo with Muichiro. So Muichiro and Tanjiro both know of their heritage, and Tanjiro's like, finally, I meet you here again, moon breather to moon breather. You taught me how to be you, but I'm gonna be better than you. I'm gonna surpass you like you couldn't do Yoriichi. This is what my entire life's been about. Well, saving my sister, but she good now. So now I'm just all about boxing. Of course, Kokushibo will still recognize, oh, Muichiro, that's my other descendant. He got misbreathing, but I don't really care about him too much because I'm care about more about Tanjiro. So Tanjiro and Muichiro go after Kokushibo, and then maybe Giyu, but I probably still have Gyomei has to go after Kokushibo. The strongest Hashira to the strongest demon, Gyomei has to be there in some capacity. Okay, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna have Tanjiro, Muichiro, Gyomei, and Giyu pull up on Kokushibo because there was 4 originally, so there's 4 here now. Tanjiro has to be there, duh. Muichiro has to be there, duh. Gyomei has to be there, because duh. And Giyu has to be there because he's the mentor. Tanjiro is his Sugoku in this timeline, and Tanjiro and Giyu fought Akaza together, so I would have them fight together too. So those are the 4 that have to fight together, period, against Kokushibo. And then I would have Tsunemi and Genya, you know, some brotherly shit to go after Akaza. Perhaps this is cooked. Tsunemi, I think he'd be fine, because Tsunemi is easily the 2nd strongest, as stated by Kokushibo himself. Tsunemi is the 2nd strongest, easily. Genya, I think, probably would still die this time, or Tsunemi would die to save Genya. Either way, one of them gotta die. Okay, so I think that works. Genya being able to, you know, eat demons and become a demon himself, I think that would help too, the same way it helps in Kokushibo, because Genya was actually helpful in the Kokushibo fight because he ate a piece of Kokushibo's sword, and then he turned that into basically a bullet that he shot Kokushibo. It basically turned him into this ugly tree monster looking thing, and that's what helped slow him down. Basically, it froze him in place. That'd probably be the same thing with Akaza. Basically, I think that's how Tsunemi and Genya will overcome Akaza's battle compass. It's like, because Tanjiro was able to turn it off, slash his head off. But in this case, I would just have Genya basically shoot him with a tree bullet thing, have him be stuck in place, and then basically Tsunemi's able to slash him in the neck and then keep fighting the body, whatever. So I think that's how that would go. Genya would probably die in the process just to, you know, eat a piece of Akaza. Maybe like Akaza goes to punch him in the mouth and he bites down and like he gets sent flying, but he got a piece of it in his mouth and goes pow. And you know what I'm saying? Like what happened originally with Kokushibo. And yeah, and then Tanjiro would of course be able to see transparent world. Basically just be Moon Breather with Moon Breather, whatever. The Doma fight would go the same way with Shinobu and Kanao, and then Inosuke getting his backstory with his mother. Kaigaku Zenitsu, duh, that's gotta go the same way. Obanai, Mitsuri, still go after Nakame, you know, duh. Now this fight with Muzan will pretty much go, again, the same exact way. But when Kokushibo dies, Tanjiro and Kokushibo kind of have like this touching moment where it's like, oh, you able to surpass me same way I couldn't surpass my brother. And of course that'd be like a narrative point right there. And this, after Kokushibo dies, we would get the backstory of Kokushibo, and Yuriji would get the full backstory, and Tanjiro would of course be able to see that through like his inherited memories. And then of course they go on to fight Muzan, which again probably goes the exact same way, since even him having sun breathing in the original story didn't really do anything. I mean obviously he fought, but I mean didn't do anything extra that sun breathing couldn't. Tanjiro goes in for the final blow when Muzan turns into his giant baby form, gets eaten, turned into a demon, saved by Nezuko and by all the other characters, and yada yada yada. Tanjiro's back to normal, and there we go. That's the end of Demon Slayer. Yeah, so I'm not really gonna get into like the descendants. Like in the end, I think the same people would probably survive. Tsunemi and Giyu, you know, maybe Tsunemi dies with Genya in this case. Maybe instead this time it's Giyu and Muichiro, since they're probably more relevant to Tanjiro personally as a character. So those are the only 2 Hashira that live this time, is Giyu and Muichiro, especially since Muichiro is a kid. He's like 14. It'd be sad to see him die. So yeah, I'll just do that. But other than that, you know, the story is kind of relatively the same, and that's also why I was debating whether I wanted to actually make this a video or not. I have thought about it. I mean, I think every Demon Slayer fan has thought about it, and I wanted to make a video about it, but then I was thinking through it. I was like, originally I was like, would it even change the story that much? I mean, yes, somewhat, but it's like, is that even worth talking about? Is it even worth making a video about it? Because you can kind of just, I feel like it's kind of somewhat just not common sense, but like you can kind of figure it out on your own. You can put 2 and 2 together. Let me know what you think about this concept, Tanjiro having moon breathing. Do you think there's even a point in even making this video? I know I missed out on a lot of details, but I don't want to dive too deep. I mean, Demon Slayer is not that deep not that detailed anyways, but let me know what you think. Do you think my story, my iteration of what would happen if Tanjiro had moon breathing is good or not? Did I skip out on some details that you would like to be, you know, detailed better, talked about more? Do you think some parts will go differently? Do you think my list is, do you think my story, my iteration is perfect? I highly doubt that. But anyway, just let me know all your thoughts down in the comments. And while you're commenting, of course, make sure to like and subscribe to join GLD and to let me know you like this type of content. And since you like this type of content, might as well turn on post notifications so you don't miss the content that you literally liked. And last but not least, you tell a friend or family member. Helps the channel grow, helps the content grow, and you don't have to watch alone. It really could be anybody. It could be a brother, sister, niece, nephew, son, daughter, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, granddad. My name is Goldie, aka GOD, and that's all I really got for today. So, bye bye.